What I can say is Kingsley Ben-Adir is a actor I've really come to like. I think he did a great job. The couple of times he's played President Obama, and very good in the shadow of Denzel as Malcolm X in One Night in Miami. And so here is Bob Marley. He's not all that good. Not very convincing.
That's right. Double Toasted Live is going to be in Los Angeles Saturday, April 27th at the El Portal Theater. So y'all, today I went to go see Bob Marley, One Love. And as someone who does, I'm almost ashamed to say I do not know that much about Bob Marley. Bob Marley, legendary reggae singer who made one of the biggest albums of all time, Exodus, which is incredible for a reggae album. You can't bring up peace and activism, anything like that without Bob Marley somewhere in the background. Yeah, man. You can't, so
yeah, he's saying about peace and unity.
Yeah, unity. So, being that I don't know that much about Bob Marley, that's a big deal going into a biopic. Because if you don't know anything about the subject, then one of the big measures of success is, well, did I learn something when I came out of that? And then how does everything else fall into place? So this is about Bob Marley, as I told you, and I guess a little bit of everything. His life, his activism, his religion, his family, him making one of the biggest albums of all, or one of the most important albums, as Time magazine said at one time, Exodus. And I didn't even know anything about this movie until a couple of weeks ago, to be honest with you. But you saw it too.
Yeah, I did.
You know anything about Bob Marley?
Not all that much.
Okay, well, it's almost in the same boat as I am. So let's go ahead and take a look at this trailer right here. And I'm eager to hear what Martin has to say. In fact, I'm gonna let you probably start the review off.
Okay.
And I'll say a few things, and we'll do that right after this.
Won't you help to sing these songs of...
Kids are like, every night he makes us listen to this.
Every dude I know who's good on a guitar does that. Gets people to gather around them while they play the same
Just
songs.
make everybody listen. Yeah. Damn, we want to go to bed.
Would-be assassins invaded Bob Marley's home.
Worst assassins, by the way, ever.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible. Terrible at that
Buddy,
job.
when he moving.
Yeah, terrible at that job.
Attempted to take the life of the singer, his wife, and...
This is my message to you.
What do you think about this, Mark?
I think you're going to have to stop doing that.
Okay.
Okay, man.
It's a biopic, life of Bob Marley, taken from, I guess, right before he's about to do a Unity concert in Jamaica, and the assassination attempt on his life, him and his wife Rita, and which they both survive. Which he's like, all right, well, I got to figure something out. His travels in London, and then back again for the big concert that unites the two political factions that have been at odds with each other. And it stars Kingsley Ben-Adir as Bob Marley and Lashana Lynch as his wife Rita. And what I can say is Kingsley Ben-Adir is a actor I've really come to like. I think he did a great job. The couple of times he's played President Obama, and very good in the shadow of Denzel as Malcolm X in One Night in Miami. And so here is Bob Marley. He's not all that good. Not very convincing. He's a British actor, and when you have other, I guess, Jamaicans in there, and you hear him talking versus them, you're like, all right, brother, I guess you're doing the best you can. This is one of these, some biopics, they really do educate you about somebody's life. And this one is very surface. You don't really learn much at all that you couldn't looked up on the first paragraph of the Wikipedia page. I don't know how you felt about it. But yeah. I thought most of this movie, especially the first half, is just carried by the music in itself. It's kind of like with Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, people won't notice how bad it is just because they love Queen so much. Not saying this is bad, but it's just very, it's very flat. It kind of just goes through the motions, except when you see him in concert performing. It's not till you don't even get any real drama till towards the end.
Yeah, I agree with you mostly on this because now I learned something about Bob Marley. That's because I know nothing about Bob Marley. So when you go in there knowing nothing, you come out, you're gonna pick up something.
Yeah.
But even with me not knowing anything about Bob Marley and picking up on some things, even his death, like I said, I'm embarrassed to say this. I didn't even know how he died.
I knew he died of cancer. I just didn't know it was that.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. So I'm all the basic things that they're touching on. Yeah, I'm walking out with something. I was sitting up there and just thinking the whole time. Anybody who does know about Bob Marley not going to really get much from this.
Well, this is one of those biopics because some biopics like you come into, you're like, I don't know anything about this, and they go like, yes, but come into this world and we can show you why this is important. Mm-hmm. And some play out like supplements where it's like you already know this. We're just acting it out for you.
Yeah.
And this felt like more one of those. And that happens when it's a biopic that has it's sanctioned by the family. And this is, Ziggy Marley, introduces this movie.
Yeah.
So everything here is all like, well, this is what we are allowing to be shown.
Yeah.
Because even the stuff with him having these other women, they don't want to come out and say it. They'll show them in the background.
Well, that was kept out the movie.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't pick up on it or you just didn't pay attention, you wouldn't even notice it in the movie. Mm-hmm. They try not to. They were really trying to do like a whitewash of his life.
Yeah, they're trying to sanitize it. Yeah.
So listen, I say this all the time. Biopics are a tricky thing because, at least for me, because I see, we see a lot of movies. I've seen a lot of biopics. So when I see something, I feel like they're just like you say, covering the surface and not doing too much. Then I feel like I've seen this formula over and over again. Mm-hmm. Bob Marley could be anybody.
Yeah.
In this, any other musician because they covered the same grounds here. Only thing I would say that actually makes it less than the typical biopic is that I don't think it flows well. I think it's just kind of hopping around in time. In time, it's hopping around to different incidents with him. They're showing him going places, but they're not really doing much with those locations. Like when he went over to London, he's just hanging. Yeah, I don't maybe that's what he did in real life. I don't know, but it made it seem like he was going there for some sort of creative encouragement, maybe some spiritual encouragement, and like they don't do anything with these moments. I feel like, it just feels very basic. And the only thing that I would disagree with you on is that I think that this is a typical biopic that only rises above because of the performances. I actually disagree with you on Kingsley Ben-Adir. I think he's actually very good in the movie. I think I like this actor a lot. This actor he's so versatile. I mean, he was just in Barbie. Yeah. But he was also, you said, Malcolm X. Oh. He was
he was in Secret Invasion.
Yeah, Secret Invasion. Yeah. So I thought he was actually very good.
I like him a lot. I just had trouble really like buying into him as Bob Marley. It wasn't until toward the end where I feel like I submitted and went with it. But then at the closing credits, they have footage of actual Bob Marley, and I go like, nah.
Nah, but I don't know. It just worked for me. Him and Lashana Lynch.
No, she was great.
Yeah, I liked them both. The only thing that's the only thing that kept me in it is really watching them. There's nothing momentous about this. You're talking about a man who had one of the biggest impacts, not just on reggae music, but on music.
On music, yeah.
And they don't capture that. It's the problem with this movie, I think, is that it's caught between being such a typical Hollywood biopic, but also being a movie that can't afford to capture the epicness of Bob Marley. Right, it's like, man, there's nothing epic here at all. There's nothing momentous about this. It feels very low key. Now, what you do with a movie that cannot afford to like capture that kind of scope is that you center on a certain slice of life of this character.
Yes,
like they did that with Jimi Hendrix. They couldn't get the music rights. They didn't have enough money to do anything big and grand on a grand scale with Jimi Hendrix. So this, I forgot the name of it. All Is on My Side. It's a Jimi Hendrix movie. They just focused on his first arrival to London, and then this is before he got big and all that kind of stuff, and just a little slice of his life right there. I think that's what they should have done here.
I thought the exact same thing. I was like, maybe his time in Jamaica, or just what was going on with all the crime back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. Do something where you ain't got to spend that much money. If you don't have enough money to really capture how big this guy is, then play it small, and center on a smaller portion of his life. Listen, having said all that, I watched it. And I saw it in a nice theater. It was off the iPick. So
spent some money to go see it.
Yeah, man, it was close. I had a lot of stuff to do. It was right there, so I went over there to see it. So I'm sitting in a nice theater. I'm eating some nice food. I'm having some drinks. I'm not sitting up here thinking I'm wasting my time or I'm upset watching this. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have to, though.
Right.
I will encourage people to unless you really just love Bob Marley that much. I saw it with a friend of mine, and they were like, well, I just like music. I just like history. I like Bob Marley. They were fine with it. They're like, I'm having a good time.
Oh, yeah. No, I sat next to our friend Demetrius and his guest, and they were singing through the whole thing. And I was like, yeah, man, the music's awesome. You can't fault anybody for enjoying that. But I think it's a big ask to say, come to the theater because everything else that's not the music is just so lackluster.
You don't need to do it, man. There's nothing there that rises above. Like I said, I've seen documentaries biopics made for Amazon and Netflix that were better than this.
Yeah.
And so, just if you really love Bob Marley that much, I would watch this at home. So it comes out to a rental.
Yeah, we're okay. So we're complete simpatico.
Yeah.
Because that's what I thought the whole time. I was like, all right,
underwhelmed is what I was.
Yeah, underwhelmed. I was like, all right, there's some trappings of biopics that it doesn't really slide into, but at the same time, it just leaves you really empty with nothing. And it's early on when you can tell like this ain't gonna rise above right here. So yeah, if you got a big TV and a nice sound system, or you just own the album Exodus, you just listen to it.
Yeah. And also it does this thing where they're trying to give these real spiritual moments in the movie, and those go nowhere. Mm-hmm. He keeps seeing the shooter, and I thought, okay, wow, what is it? Does he have PTSD? Is this leading up to something? And it's just there for the imagery.
Right.
They don't do anything with that.
Right. The most interesting part to me was when they kept these jumping out of time, but the flashback to when he was much younger and they were playing their first record getting recorded. I was like, I could watch a whole movie about this era right here.
Wow, so if they have done like a young Bob Marley, that would have been cool.
Plus, it didn't make sense that he was like 5'6" at one point and then grew up to be 6'5" when he was already a grown man at 5'6".
Yeah, man. I often sit back and say, man, I don't know if I like the Hollywood treatment with all these biopics. They lying half the time. And I was like, man, go ahead and lie here.
You got to tell a story. You got to do something.
Yeah, lie, man. Because I'd rather you give me like almost a fictional story of this character and tell me an actual story than just kind of meandering around with like this movie did. This movie meandered.
It did. And yes, the thing, he actually accomplished some epic things, but it doesn't come across. It's like they're telling you like, man, he was big. I'm like, well,
I guess gotta take my word for it. Yeah, there you go, people. It's a rental. I don't even know if it's a good or bad rental. I'm trying to think.
Who knows these days?
I mean, well, yeah, because I'm trying to think. Like the only thing I hate to put it on Rotten Tomatoes because I'm going to get asked this by Kevin. He's like, if I put this review up, what would you give it? And I would be like, man, listen, because I didn't have a bad time in the theater, but at the same time, I wasn't really moved by anything. It would probably be a negative rental, if I had to look like really. If I was, even if you really forced me to it, but if I saw it at home, here's a test. Even watching it at home, I would not be paying attention the whole time.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. Yeah. And they don't play the songs all the way through.
No.
So when you get into it, it cuts to something else.
Yeah. So there you go.